Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Gaming Block Podcast. I am your host, Andrew Ron, and today I'm joined by one half of the bad boys of video games, Roger Benin III, wearing his iconic Beatles shirt. But, Roger, could you scoot back a little
I
for
can
the.
try, yeah.
Oh, it's not just the Beatles,
It's the
it's the
Beatles
Beatles
rock
rock
band.
band.
I've gotten so many compliments on the shirt, more than anything else in my wardrobe.
That's what we like to see. I don't really have shirts that get compliments except for my Cowboy Bebop shirt.
Yeah, it's stuff like that that'll get you compliments. People
Hmm.
random people will be like, "Nice shirt."
Yeah, it's those like kind of, I guess rock band's obscure now, isn't it? Even though there's a point in our lives where
It
it
was the
was
biggest thing ever.
it's probably the biggest thing in the world, and then yeah, it just one day died, and it
Mhm.
tried to come back for a second.
Both it and Guitar Hero did, yeah.
Yeah,
But
and
and I don't know about Rock Band. Guitar Hero did that their weird double fret thing with their new game. I hated that. I couldn't do it.
I don't understand why they did that either, because it was like you don't
I
have
don't
to
know if they were
reinvent
trying to
the.
more mimic a real guitar, but I couldn't stand it.
It's simple is better.
Yeah.
Just release if they would make Rock Band again, but like it's just the guitar. Maybe it was a little higher quality.
Dude, you guys need to bite the clone hero pill. All right, I bit that, and I've never gone back.
Oh, that's the PC one, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Well, maybe one day. Oh, my face is so bright with this. We're recording this at
10:42
10:40 a.m., 9:40 a.m. Central Time.
for me.
Um,
Yeah,
because some people want to act like they have
we
lives or
actually do have
something.
a third member here. So
We do. Jake is I don't know, being a corporate slave right now.
hmm
But that tail, believe it or not, is not Rogers.
dude, he does this when I'm like trying to play games and stuff. I like put my hand up like here, and he will just move it with his head.
I love that. Yui won't do that. Yui's my dog, in case the
Hmm.
audience doesn't know. She'll, if Susan's gone, then she will be attached to me. But if Susan's, and it's only if Susan is like traveling. I don't
Yeah.
know if the dog knows because like she's got the suitcase and stuff. But once she leaves with like, and she's gonna be gone for a few days, then the dog will be by my side. Now, if
Hmm.
Susan's just leaving for a few hours, she just has a sixth sense. She'll sit on the ottoman and stare at the door and wait,
Yep.
and she'll ignore me. She'll pretend like I don't exist. Um,
Yeah,
but
this
there's
cat definitely plays both sides, depending on whether me or my roommate's home, and he'll just kind of go to whoever.
it's so rude.
I
Um,
know. It's
all
really
right.
rude when I get up to get a drink and I look back and he stole my chair. That's all
That's when you
animals do.
sit on him. Uh, well, I'm glad you're here. Glad to see you. We have
Hmm.
a bit of things to talk about.
Hmm.
We've both actually been playing a game that we can dive deeper into. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about another game that I've played recently. And I
Sure.
think the last episode me and Jake did was 2.5 weeks ago. So it's one of those things where it's inconsistent enough to where I don't exactly remember what I talked about last time,
I
but
feel
I know for sure that I didn't talk about the PlayStation 2 enhancements on PS5. These are new games that they're releasing,
okay.
which they've had PS2 games on the PS5 before, but now these are like built for PS5 and things like that. Um, and the games were they released Tomb Raider, the remake of Tomb Raider that came out on the PS2,
Uh,
and they released like Cooper and Star Wars, The Clone Wars, and a couple other games, but those were the ones I was interested in. And my big thing is that they added trophy support to them,
that's
and it's been kind of a delight of going back and playing these older games, but now having that little carrot at the end of the
motive.
stick. Yeah.
Man, I wish the Xbox did that with some of their older games. If I could go back to Morrowind with achievements,
Right? And it's like I feel like the amount of effort it takes to put in trophies or achievements is small.
yeah, I don't. I say that, but with Xbox and achievements, they've always like had some issues here and there with them, like them being bugged and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's true. I remember Minecraft when that first came out 10 years
Mm.
ago or whatever. It was probably older than that actually. But you could like get all the achievements if someone else had them all and you joined their game or something. And it's always been a little weird on Xbox. It's been a little
Well, and
strange.
Halo's always had some weird stuff with like sometimes you would try and get it and it just wouldn't work.
Yeah, I was gonna say that happened to you guys on your
Yeah, I mean that happened to us on our Master Chief journey. Yeah, but even like back in the Halo 360 days, there was some problems here and there.
Yeah, that would frustrate me to no end. I don't
Dude,
think.
yeah, it's traumatized both of us.
Well, actually, that's not true. There's PlayStation trophies that do that as well. I've straight up not played games because they'll be like, "Oh, this trophy's glitched." I'm like, "Okay, I'm not playing it."
Oh, dude, I've done the exact same. Yeah, if the trophy's
Glitched.
glitched and it's like something maybe I'd have to replay the game to try and get, I'm like, no,
Uh
just
huh.
gonna play.
Actually, uh, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth.
Oh,
When that
really?
came out, it wasn't a glitched trophy. It was a glitched quest to get a trophy. Because there's
Yeah.
one of them is to complete every quest, but then you have to do like this thing at Gold Saucer where you're playing all the mini games and getting the high scores.
Mm-hmm.
But if you did the bike race, if you got the highest score, it still had the little exclamation over the guy to be like, "Try to beat my high score." And they
My
were like,
coworker was telling me about that,
"Uh
about the
huh."
fucking mini games in that game.
And at
That was
that
super
point,
weird.
I was 92 hours into the game. And it was
Mm-hmm.
the last thing I had to do before the end of the game. And I sat there and I was like, how long is it going to take them to fix this?
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up just beating the game because I was like, I'm going to do a new game plus, anyways, for hard mode. But it was very frustrating because that's one more thing I could have just had done.
Mm-hmm.
But
Actually,
yeah.
I think that happened to me in Final Fantasy 16 as well, where there was a trophy for exploring 100% of the map, and I did that. There was no hidden area or nothing, and it was stuck at 97%. And I looked up online, and everybody was like, "Yeah, you have to go to New Game Plus and re-explore it all. And hopefully that will fix it." You
Well,
say
I guess
something?
that's one way to sell your new game plus mode.
I mean, I was gonna play New Game Plus anyways. I was just kind of waiting to take a break. Now it's kind of the perfect time because it's been a little while and the DLC's out.
hmm Yeah, I actually went back to Final Fantasy 16 a few weeks ago, and that surprise surprise is still good. I didn't get that far into it, but
Hmm.
I'm in the I'm in the desert right now chasing what's his name? Kupka?
Yeah, the Earth guy.
Uh-huh. Yeah, but I have that issue now of it's been so long. I'm trying to learn how to play the game again. Um so it's been interesting, but it's such a good game. We had this whole like bar fight or something and I was like,
I'm curious if I go back to it, if it'll be like kind of picking up a bike, like if it'll be pretty easy to go back into, or if it'll take a little bit.
I think if you start from the beginning, it would be because where I'm starting, I just have so many different abilities and things, and I don't even remember everything. Um, I did have Susan start it though, and she played basically the demo, and she
Oh, what
liked
you
it.
think of it? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
it has a nice startup. And once you get, I don't know, I feel like it does a good job of easing you into the mechanics of the game.
definitely, yeah. Because I mean, honestly, it might be too much because there was a point where I was kind of getting frustrated with how easy it was, but it does
Mhm.
pick up the difficulty and it does become more little complex as it
No,
goes
I
on.
agree. Yeah, I think it was, you know, it was also since like it's their first time going to that full on action route. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
I think it's understandable that some of their fan base wouldn't be as familiar with that.
Well, familiar and or supportive of it.
Yeah,
The whole this is a Final Fantasy, whatever. It's like sure, man, that's
it's a
what you
shame
say.
because I absolutely loved it.
No, me too. It's good, and it's like I don't know. You'd think after 15, which I loved 15. I'm a huge
I need to
supporter of
go
that.
back and play it. I never played it.
It's I think I've beaten 15 four times, five times now.
How long of a game is that?
It's I depends. If you do all the side things, very long. I think just the main quest though is about 40 something hours.
Mm.
But
How long
I
is Rebirth compared to the first remake?
okay. So Rebirth, if you just do the quest, I think it's about 50 hours.
Okay,
Rebirth, if you want to do everything, is about 100 hours.
Jesus. That's what my coworkers tell me is there's so much extra stuff in that game.
It's so worth it though cuz every it's like I mean, I guess some of the mini games and stuff you don't need to do, obviously, and they don't really add much to it. But if you do everything, like all the little side icons and stuff like that, it just everything feels intentional and it adds so much to the story and to the game and to the characters too. Because I really like how I'm gonna get on a tangent to Rebirth, so I'll try to slow down a little bit. But
Okay, that's one of the games you were playing.
yeah, I played it 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Oh,
Um, but I
it's
love
on
how
my to-do list.
every side quest and thing like that in Rebirth had like character development meaning. It's weird when you play a game that's a remake, so it's like you know the characters, but then you realize you didn't really know them because the original game wasn't that deep, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But now there's like I don't know, I just think about this one side quest where we had to guide this dog from one town to the next. But the whole time we're guiding it, Barrett is talking about like his daughter and how he's like strong and tough, but then he'll start like crying and things like that. And he's like, I miss you, baby girl. And Cloud's like, get it together, man. um, but there's just so many little character moments. It's so well written and like the characters feel natural and things like that. The only problem with Rebirth, and it's not even a problem, it's subjective. Or yeah, it's subjective. It's an opinion. Is just like with remake, the ending is weird. Like
That's what I heard. Yeah.
I don't know why they have this like feeling that they have to just be weird with it. They have to make it confusing and dragged out. And then I'm not a fan of the whispers. I'm just not.
The,
Um
the whisper stuff.
yeah, the little ghost guys that are flying around and things like that.
Okay. Okay.
I'm not the biggest fan of them. They make more sense in this game than they did in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you haven't played any of Rebirth, right?
No.
You're in
I
for
don't-
a treat, dude.
well, and that's the thing is I own both the first and Rebirth, and I want to sit down and get through it, but a lot of games, dude.
Oh, I know. Even though this is a quote unquote slow year, doesn't feel like it.
Bro, I'm basically still playing catch up at this point.
Been playing catch up my whole life.
Yeah.
Speaking of catch up, I did platinum Star Wars: The Clone Wars PS2. Um,
For you.
that's a game that I had played as a child but never beat. Took
Mm-hmm.
me 2.5 hours to beat in 100%. So I don't know if I was just a dumb kid or what, but it was very easy,
We were all very dumb kids. Don't worry about it.
right? I think we were talking last night about like going back to games as a kid and then playing through them and breezing through them because they're so
Hmm.
easy.
Yeah,
The
we were.
only
Yeah.
the only game that that's not true for, at least I feel like it's not true for, is The Simpsons Hit and Run because that game gets stupid hard at the end.
Well, for me, the game where it's like I don't even know how I attempted this back in the day was Devil May Cry 3. 'Cause I was playing through that a year or two ago, and it was a challenge. Like I had multiple retries and multiple. I had to use all the stuff, and I'm like, I don't know how my kid self even like got past the first level. Like,
We take for granted the amount of free time that we had as a child.
dude, it's like the shit I would do in games, and now it's just like I have to like debate whether I actually want to complete it or not,
Yeah,
just
yeah,
from how
yeah.
much time I have.
Yeah, exactly. I got my old PS Vita out and I was downloading some games to it and I checked my old Persona 4 save
Yeah,
and it had 380 hours on it. And I was like, there's no way in
and
today's world.
Andrew, give me just a second. I'm
I,
sorry.
I hear. We're gonna do a pause and now it's time once again for Andrew's inquiries. This is the part of the show where I'm left by myself, so I look around and inquire about things. But it's time for this segment to end because he is back. Um, so I hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you next time on Andrew's Inquiries. It was a very quick segment.
I kind of heard it, but
I'm you can hear it later on the recording. All right,
all right. What else have you been?
let's
What else have you been
let's
playing?
just dive straight in since I already opened the gates with talking about Persona 4.
Oh, good.
Let's just
Okay, I I did before we want to go into that. I did do a Fire Emblem Engage too. I played through that.
oh shit, yeah, did you beat it?
Yeah,
Okay, what'd you think?
I made sure to beat it before I moved on to Persona 3. Now, I really liked it. mine, my, I don't know. For me, the engage mechanic was kind of a positive and a negative for me. Um,
Yeah.
I didn't like how you had to change your classes using those. Like you didn't have to, but if you wanted to like make a character go a different way, or like you would have to give them certain reams, give them proficiencies and certain stats and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know. It just like it was cool, but man, it made the and maybe I just need to start playing those games on a harder difficulty, but it made them really easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could
Which
do some really
difficulty
overpowered shit in those games.
what difficulty did you play on? Normal?
Yeah, just normal. And I think I'm
So
at the
I
point
actually
where I probably should just start playing on hard.
well, maybe I actually started that game on hard
Mm,
because I was like, I've played Fire Emblem however dozens of times and I'm good at tactical games. I can do this. And I actually made it to about the call it the third way. I mean, we can do spoilers since we've both been it. The game's over a year old. But there's a part where you get to a castle and there's like two or three battles in a row.
yeah, there's a couple
Um,
of segments where they do that to you.
yeah, but I think it's the first time that you do that. I would say it's like about a third of the way into the game, maybe a
Yeah,
fourth. But
I,
I got to that
maybe.
moment, and I think I had either lost one character or I lost nobody, and then this fucking castle kicked my ass so hard. I'm talking like 8 casualties, and I was like, I can't beat the game losing 8 people in one mission.
Yeah,
So
that's unfortunately probably a restart.
yeah, so I restarted the mission and I knocked the difficulty from hard to normal.
Uh-huh.
But since I had been playing on hard for so long, all my characters were already obscenely strong. So
Yeah,
the game was a breeze after that. Um,
yeah. It actually became really easy if you like just grind a little bit to over level in that game,
mhm.
which is
Yeah, and
fine.
on
I
hard,
don't necessarily mind that,
yeah,
but I
and on hard
really
difficulty, you had to kind of grind just to,
dude, and
be
that was the other
competent.
thing. So like I remember them saying they were going back to like classic Fire Emblem, right? And in some
Mhm.
ways they did. But I thought that kind of meant like less micromanaging my characters. Not the case.
No,
You
no.
are micromanaging so much in that game.
Mhm.
But I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I liked all the characters. Story was fine.
Yeah,
I really enjoyed the maps and the actual 3D layout and stuff.
yeah.
And when it would just zoom in, it would zoom into that part of the map, and you would see that battle take place there.
No,
Yeah,
definitely. There are a lot of quality of life things that they did
there's a
for things like
ton
that.
of quality of life things that I really appreciated.
Yeah.
I know it's the rewind feature is a little controversial. I like it for like if I make one little mess up and I can redo that, you know. Like if I
Yeah.
a character attacks some unit and it's like, oh, I didn't realize that unit had an axe and they just bodied my character, so I'll
Uh-huh.
rewind and redo that like decision. That's kind of how I use it.
I've never understood either because just don't use it. If you don't like it, don't use
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
It's very simple. It's
It,
such a
it's the same with that Elden Ring argument. People just get really gatekeepy about certain things, and I don't know.
I think people are annoying. Did you ever you played Three Houses, right?
Yeah,
And did you just do like one run, 3 runs, like
2 runs. I would like to do
two?
another one, but yeah, I did a run with
Okay.
the church. That was actually my first run, which was kind of a cool first run since you're on House Eldgard, I think,
Uh-huh.
Red
Yeah, yeah.
basically, and you know, spoilers for that game. She turns on you halfway through, but I think you can join her.
You can. Uh-huh.
But I ended up joining the church, I think, by accident, and then I did another run through with the blue lions. Was that their name?
That is hilarious because that's the exact same thing I did.
Is
I beat that game twice, and the first time I was with Elgard, and I was like, I'm not going to turn on the church. So then I went with the church, and then yeah, I did the Blue Lions run, which I like the Blue Lions run because it felt a lot more like just a normal Fire Emblem story.
Yeah, yeah.
The
But it
church
was
gets a
neat.
little weird.
It was neat doing the I forget what the Red's name is. But it was neat doing their story first and like having that kind of betrayal point at the halfway.
Hmm.
No,
Yeah,
I
because
actually really liked Three Houses and the spinoff the Warriors spinoff.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Three
All
Hopes
the
or
Fire
whatever.
Emblem Warriors games have been. I think there's only two, but they've both been pretty solid.
That game was so cool because like your character from Three Houses was like you're the antagonist for your character in that game.
Yeah, you're hunting them down, the mercenary or
Mhm.
whatever. Uh, yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, I'm glad you liked Engage because I feel like Engage was one where Three
It was more.
Houses wasn't like the Breath of the Wild of Fire Emblem, but it definitely was like this moment of like, oh, here's something kind of new and different with the whole multiple paths and how big it is too, because it's such a long game
Yeah.
and people really clamored to it and loved it. And then when Engage came out, I mean, Three Houses sold, I think, way more than Engage, even though Engage sold, respectfully, I think a couple million copies. Um,
People were really excited for Three Houses.
yeah, so I'm interested to see if now, I mean, it makes sense if you just look at the sales numbers, if they're going to go back to something that's similar to Three Houses. I mean, they won't do it again. They're not going to do Three Houses too, but if they kind of do something in that like pseudo school, I almost hesitant to say, but persona like, you
Yeah,
know.
I don't necessarily need them to do that, but I did like the structure of it and how like you could like do these little tiny bits of like growing proficiency. Like in that game, it was pretty. If you really wanted to like take a character and like nudge them in a different direction, it was easier to do than that game than it was in some
Hmm.
other games.
Yeah.
Uh, I enjoyed Engage quite a bit. I enjoyed a lot of the battles. They had a couple of moments. The I think the arenas were my favorite part of Engage, where the objectives were kind of still pretty standard. Nothing too out of the box on like the objective to win the battles, but some of the arenas were just really, and they brought back some classic arenas from classic games, and
Mhm.
yeah, I just really enjoyed that.
Yeah. And then did you get the DLC or?
No, I never got the DLC.
Yeah. So
To be honest, I never got the DLC for any of the Fire Emblem games.
I I got the DLC and I haven't like actually because they did like the 2 season thing or whatever. I don't fucking know. I hate the way that we do DLC. If you're gonna do DLC, do it like Cyberpunk, where you're just like, here it is. Okay, we're done.
Yeah, instead of
Um,
in these little chunks
yeah, or
every
like
months.
I'm gonna talk about Persona 3 in a second, but their DLC model I think is fucking ridiculous. But
Mhm.
anyways, um, they had this first thing where like at the beginning of the game there's like these little islands that are there and it's just a way to get more rings from different Fire Emblem characters and things like that, but all the maps are from their games, so they're just expanding on that. And I thought that was really cool. I really appreciate how they were like, it's kind of like the Fire Emblem game made for Fire Emblem fans,
Pretty
which
much so, yeah.
is funny because half the games aren't even available in English. But if you've read about them or playing like a fan translate, um, there are a lot of cool little references in Engage. Yeah.
No, I agree. I agree. I really enjoyed my time with it. Yeah. Um, I still think I probably personally prefer Three Houses more, but there hasn't been a Fire Emblem game I've played where I didn't have a good time.
Yeah, I agree. All of them, it's like it just gets into that nitpicky, like, well, which one's better, or things like that. It's like, well, they're all good for different reasons.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just cough,
Sorry, there's a lot going on right now.
cough harmony. It's
Um.
it's the cats,
So
man. The cats are invading.
so yeah. Persona.
Oh, well, here it is. So, Persona 3 Reload came out back in March, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Because it came out after. There's just this golden era of JRPGs where Yakuza 8 came out in January, and then Final Fantasy Rebirth came out in February, and then I think Persona 3 Reload came out in March, and there are a couple other games too, but those were the kind of three big ones. And it's so weird because I feel like Persona 3 being a remake doesn't do it justice because when I was playing the game, and for context, I've beaten 3
You
Fez and Reload. Or not Reload,
portable.
Portable. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So you know all the different versions.
yeah, so and unlike 4, I've only beaten each version once, so I never actually got to do a new game plus playthrough even though with Fez you can kind of transfer things over and things like that, but
Mm-hmm.
I still wasn't able to get all the social links. Or I guess I just didn't want to get all the social links because I don't know. I didn't play Persona right.
All the playthroughs, you probably have seen them all, but
Yeah, I've seen most of them. Maybe not like they're level 10, but I've seen like basically everything. Um, so when I got Reload, I was in that mindset of it's just Persona 3 again, you know? I'm like,
mm-hmm.
yeah,
And
it
none
is
of
what
us
it
were
is.
playing it too. I was distracted with something else, I think, and yeah.
Mhm. But the more I got into the game, the more I realized I was like, "Oh, no, wait, this is a new Persona game," you know? It's like,
For
this
me,
is really cool.
it's always been new, and I was just excited to go back to it. So,
Yeah, so tell me, I'll let you start with how is,
well,
like, your time with 3?
so I will say it's like thank God I played Persona 5 and Persona 4 because like now I know kind of how to spend my time in
Mhm.
Persona. You know what I mean? I
Oh,
think it's
absolutely.
completely fine for your first time with your first Persona game. Just do whatever you want to do and just
Mhm.
do what you can. Um, but now I kind of understand also when you played a couple certain things like going to sleep at night. You're like, don't do that. Like there's a lot of ways to maximize spending your time in that game, and I feel pretty proud about how efficient I've been. Although I don't think I'm gonna 100% all the links in this playthrough. I think I'll get close, but I don't think I'll
Mhm.
quite make it. And part of that, I can kind of tell what some stuff they added to reload. For example, the shift mechanic, right, where you
Yeah,
can pass your one up to another. That has to be something they added because
absolutely. That's
that wasn't in Persona 4. You know what I mean?
yeah, so, like, that's it's funny because, Persona 3 is a tale of 4 cities, I guess, because in the original, you didn't even control your own teammates.
Yeah,
You only controlled yourself, and then your teammates did what they wanted to, and, like, it leads to some classic moments of
I
stupid AI.
can imagine.
Um, and then I think in maybe you could control them in
Do the other
Fez?
Persona games do that, where your party members make their own decisions, or is that just
Um,
Persona 3?
it's only 3.
That's crazy. I wonder why
Because
they decided to
in
do that.
4, actually, in the original 4, when you get a new character, so, like, whenever Yosuke is available in your party and stuff, they default to being controlled by
Oh,
the
Golden did
AI.
that too, where I would have
Yeah.
to go and actually. I can't tell you how many times I would forget about it, and then I'd get into a battle, and they would just start doing their own shit, and I'd be like, "No, stop that."
Okay, let me see. Persona 3 Fez, can you control your party manually? No. So, okay, I couldn't remember, it's been so long,
I just
but,
don't know. I know 1 and 2 are different, but I don't know if that was like how those games are, where they do their own thing, or if you still can control them.
yeah, so that was the big thing was so in Persona 3 and Persona 3 Fez, because Fez is just I mean, Fez stands for festival, and it was the main game with the expansion, and I think they added like a couple things in there. But you could not control your party in either of those games. You could tactically control them, so you'd be like, you're on healing or you're aggressive or you're defense or whatever. Um, but that's why I liked Portable so much because in Portable you could control your party. Problem with Portable is that it plays like a dating sim for most time, unless
Yeah,
you're in the dungeon. Then you can actually move around
it's like
3D.
a slideshow for the rest of the game.
Yeah, but it's pretty good, and like it has the female protagonist side, which
Yeah, I'm very curious playing this game, like what it would be like with the female protagonist.
it it I maybe it's because it's pink. I don't know, but I love the female protagonist side
Mhm.
because it has different music, it has different social links. Like that's where you
Yeah.
can social link with like Akihiko and things like that.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, there's just a few there's different things about it, but the developers came out and said they're not doing the female
That's
protagonist side or
a shame.
whatever, and I'm like,
That's a shame. This would have been the ultimate game for Persona 3.
exactly. It's like, why can't you just make your we're getting the DLC for the answer, which is
Hmm.
coming out in October or November, or September. I don't know. It's coming
I
out
think it's
fall.
September.
Um, so it's like if you just did that too, and that I feel like because the currently the DLC is $35, and we're just gonna jump into this because I hate Atlas and or Sega. The second that Atlas got bought by Sega, their DLC has been so egregious. It started with the
Hmm.
arena games where they're selling you like glasses pack or color pack and things like that. And then they started selling you personas in queue. Like, oh,
Hmm.
$3 to get a persona. It's like, don't do this. This is like in Pokemon if they're like, you want fucking Bidoof? $2, please.
I mean, Pokemon's getting there themselves, but
Yeah.
yeah,
But they're selling this $35 expansion pass where you get the answer, but it's a season pass, and the other two seasons or the other two moments of it consist of costumes for your characters.
yeah. I noticed that with like a lot of Persona games, is like a lot of there's a lot of costume DLC. that you can buy. And then Persona 5, wasn't it, where you could buy certain personas
Oh
to.
my gosh, fives was so. I think all the DLC by the end of original five was over $100.
Yeah.
Like
Now I
it
don't know
was
if that was the same way with
ridiculous.
Royal, but
Well, Royal included all the DLC from five, but then I think they released even more DLC.
Jesus.
It's ridiculous, but yeah, it's a shame that they're not doing the female route. But I guess that's just another remake they can do in 5 to 10 years. you know?
Or another DLC they can release.
Yeah, someday.
Or
Let's just keep
charge
milking these games.
$60. I am enjoying Persona 3 Reload though. I really like the I don't know, I really like the themes of it. I really like the concept of grief and how every character deals with that in some fashion. I like it when like every character is tied by a thematic purpose like that.
Yeah,
And the Persona games are really good about doing that with their social links. Like I think all of them have done that, where all the social links do kind of share a common
common
thread
theme.
that they're exploring.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Back in the day before Persona 5 came out, it was the great debate where you had between you're either a 3 fan or
Uh
4
huh.
fan, and
Yeah.
there's no separation. And it was, well, 3 is the better game because it's dark. That was
It is.
literally the argument.
It is a bit more emo.
Yeah,
I can't tell you how many times I'll be playing the game and like my roommate or somebody will come home and they'll see me just shoot myself in the head and spawn a giant monster and they're like, "What the fuck are you playing?"
it's so bad. I love the game. I love both games. 4 is still my favorite just because of, the time and it was my first one, all
I
that
can
stuff.
see this kind of being like Dark Souls, where it's like your first is your favorite. You know?
Yeah, I think that's kind of how the Persona series goes is whichever one you played first, that's going to be your favorite one because the games are just so similar even though they're so different. But I love how, they shoot themselves in the head with the fake gun, which is ties to the theme of, death. You got to
Yep.
accept that you're dead to summon this thing and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
The fact that everybody's literally a coffin during the dark hour. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's a lot of cool things about it. And then, you're in October right now, right?
Yes.
Okay, so what was the last? We're gonna get into light spoilers, but I'm not gonna
I
say
haven't
anything after that.
done the quote unquote final shadow yet.
Okay.
But I think I'm like a couple days away from doing it. Um, and then, I mean, yeah, how spoilery do you want me to go?
As much as you want. I think it's. I mean, this is a
The last big thing that happened was we fought off the shadow, and then I can't remember his name, the guy with the beanie. Um,
Shinji.
yeah, he got fucking capped down in the streets.
Yeah,
So
I did. Literally in the back alley, guy.
yeah, and the kid was having his whole fucking moment.
Yeah, it's so. As much as I like this remake, there are certain things. So, like that cutscene right there,
Yeah.
where Akihiko or not Akihiko, where Shinji gets
Shinji. See, I don't know why. I don't know if it's because like I haven't spent as much time with this game as the other games. I'm having a hard time remembering their names.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where the more you play it or the more
The more it
you're
clicks,
with
yeah.
it, yeah. But when he died, it's I don't know. The cutscenes feel like PlayStation 2, if that makes
So,
sense.
it's weird how some are anime and some are game graphics. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't know if they did that on game graphics for like a rating reason or whatever.
I don't know.
But yeah, I see what you mean. Where it was, and it's weird because sometimes I'm playing this remake and it's like, well, I can definitely tell the quality of life stuff they did. There are times where it's like it does feel that older gen vibe to it, which it doesn't really
Yeah.
bother me per se. It just is what it is. So
hmm It's definitely an interesting way to do a remake because I think they're wanting to be faithful to the original and they want you to feel like you're playing the original, but also they want you to like expand on it. And on the one hand, I'm like, cool, love that.
yeah,
On the other hand, I'm like, I just played Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and there's so much potential here. Like the maps are so small and empty still because it's a PlayStation 2 game.
my thing is like the remake is like the whole point of a remake is it's like your opportunity to like improve upon it and like
Yeah,
do better. You know, do better, but you know what I
yeah,
mean.
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
to enhance it and So that's why remakes where it's just 1-to-1, I kind of get annoyed with.
Yeah, which isn't a one-to-one remake, even though when I started playing it, it really felt like a one-to-one remake, just with like some little things. But then, as you were saying, like the shift system where you can, it's basically the baton pass, but you
Yeah.
don't, you don't get like a boost in power unless you unlock certain things. Um, like that's really nice. Or
Here's my
the
question to you: like, is like the monad doors? Is that new stuff
so
or is that
like
the original?
the monad doors are new, which I also appreciate because Tartarus got so tedious back in the day.
So that's the one thing about Persona 3 where I feel like 4 and 5 did better was I really don't enjoy going through Tartarus that much. I'm gonna
You
be honest
don't
with
you don't
you.
enjoy going through 260 floors? I think that's around where it ends is 260.
Okay, well now that I have a stopping point, that actually helps me a little bit. But it's just such a grind, and I didn't enjoy Mementos in Persona 5.
And it's just
Mementos
mementos.
wasn't as bad, and I think it's because the floors were shorter.
Uh-huh.
Um, in Persona 4, the floors were a lot longer, but there was only 10 to 20 of them per area.
Yeah, there it was never a lot.
And the vibe of Persona 4, I don't know, the music and the vibe of the going through them was so like cool, and then it didn't outstay its welcome because it was only like, yeah, 10 to 15 floors or whatever it was.
Mhm.
Persona 3, it's like you'll be looking at the same floor for like 50 to 60 levels, and they're it's like they're not short, they're long if you explore all of them, which I have to. I'm
Of
not missing
course.
these chests. So it's just, yeah, I think I enjoyed exploring the different areas in Persona 4 and 5 a lot more than Persona 3.
Yeah, I remember, I didn't really do mementos in Persona 5 until the end where you have to, and I remember playing through that and saying like, "Motherfucker, it's just Tartarus again." It's they just did the same thing, but yeah, 264 total floors in Tartarus.
That's insane. That's too
It's
much.
it was, and it's so interesting too. I mean, I get it, and it's an interesting concept of being like, okay, what if for the game we just have one giant dungeon,
Hmm.
and like that's not even where like your main boss battles are, because all
That's the
the
weird thing about it is because it's like you have boss battles there, like kind of mini boss battles, and then the big story boss battles aren't even in Tartarus.
yeah, there's somewhere else, but it obviously not to get too deep, but like there's a purpose for it. Once you get to the top, like
I'm sure there is, and I'm enjoying the whole game. I just noticed like I enjoy Tartarus a lot less than I do the other stuff in Persona 4 and 5.
yeah,
Maybe that would change. Who knows? It's also the fact that like I kind of have to wait at certain intervals before I can go back and like
hmm
mess with my party and personas. Whereas Persona 4 and 5, you could do that literally at any point you needed to. That's
yeah.
just older game stuff that I have to get over. And you do get a skill later on that lets you do it whenever. But
Oh, you do?
yeah,
I haven't gotten that skill.
Fuka gets a skill that called Escape Route where you
Oh, well,
can.
yeah. Oh, never mind. I didn't know that. I don't use her skills as much as I
I
should.
use the defense one from time to time. If
Uh-huh.
I'm like a little wary about this boss and my team's being a little janky, and then I'll obviously the analyze one. Those are pretty much the only two I really
Yeah.
use.
Do you have a main squad yet? Like, do you just have a default, I'm going with these characters and
Now I'm
that's it?
constantly swapping them, dude.
Mm.
I do kind of keep the one girl in my party, the healer one girl,
Um,
because I
Yukari?
got that ability on her where it halves the SP cost of her healing abilities.
Hmm.
And ever since then, I'm like, you got to be in the party. I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
can't be the healer. That takes too much SP.
I gotta be the big guns.
Yeah.
Whenever there's something intense, I gotta pull out that big shit. Yeah, so I tried to switch out my party members, but I'm really bad about that. I just kind of do my group and then that's it.
Yeah, and I'm also trying to I'm trying to find like a good mix of characters and see which ones I like and which ones I will say I don't use Junpei that much.
No,
I feel bad, but I just don't.
he's
Um,
fine. He'll live.
I've been trying to use the robot girl that
I
does
guess.
physical, and
Hmm.
I I don't know what it is, and maybe I just need to like I noticed her defense items. I need to get her some more items to upgrade her stats,
Yeah.
but she just gets bodied a lot. She does some damage, but nothing like my character can use certain strength personas and just do more damage that she does for physical.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No,
So
absolutely.
Ironically, what I really like is the kid and the dog. I love both of them, and I kind of wish I could have them. I wish I could have five people, and I could have like the perfect team. Because
No, that's
what
interesting
is your
because
team, if you don't mind me asking?
yeah. So my team is obviously me. I'm there.
Hmm.
But then I have Yukari, who's the wind healer.
Yeah,
I have Igus, the robot, and then I have Akihiko, the boxer guy.
I really like him. He does a lot of cool. He gets criticals a whole lot, and I
Hmm.
I, I like Mitsuru, the ice girl.
Yeah,
The problem is I have so many ice personas. I swear that's like every time I craft a persona, it's an ice persona in some way. So it's like I just don't need her as much as I do like some of the other ones.
yeah, definitely. I think it's also funny because this is my 15th, 20th playthrough of a Persona game. So
Hmm.
at this point, I'm kind of a master of my craft. And like, I don't know, things that I definitely didn't do even the first like 5 times, like the Persona Compendium, I'm at about 70% done with it. Because
That's
I'm
that's
like
pretty good.
obsessively like getting new personas and crafting things. So the
Oh, I
personas
don't
I
craft
have,
this one unless it's a new one. So
well, yeah, yeah. It's just a waste if you craft something else. Um, but like I have my personas like so varied and decked out to where I can kind of have anyone on my team because like Igus and Yukari, the wind and the robot, uh, they're both weak to electricity, which isn't the best team because you want to kind of balance all
I
that
think I
out.
noticed that where I went to a boss fight with those guys and they all got like crit with electricity. I'm like, never again.
But it's fine because I'm so balanced and strong that I can just equip my persona that reflects electricity. And I know for this one certain boss battle, if they're both kind of decommissioned, I'm still going to wipe the floor. And
Hmm.
then, as I was telling you the other day, I'm like 15 levels over all the bosses right now. So I'm also just kind of crushing things. Like, it's not even fair. All the hard boss fights, I can just use my normal physical attack and beat them in four
See, that's
turns.
what I was a couple months ago. Like for throughout all of summer, I was just like it didn't even feel like boss battles because I was just going through them. But I don't know. I think I just got burnt out on Tartarus and I was like just putting it off. And now I'm getting to the point where it's like, okay, I got to use some strategy a little bit.
Yeah.
I got to
Uh-huh.
think about what to do here.
Do you go to Tartarus just once every like once a month?
So here's the thing, I don't have to. Like at first I was doing that, but then I
Hmm.
realized you don't really need like you get a lot of evening time. It's the
Hmm.
daytime you got to stress about. The evening time's okay. You can do a couple visits and be okay.
Yeah.
Um but what I typically do is I wait till somebody goes missing and
Yeah.
then I explore up until when they're missing because one person will always go missing a few days right before the deadline,
Yep.
and that's when I'll try and complete. I'll rescue them and try and complete the rest of what I can for Tartarus in that day.
Yeah. That's usually what I do. I wait till like 2 days before the full moon. I'm like, all
Hmm.
right, everyone who's gone missing is missing now. Which it's and that's another cool thing. It's like your social links will go missing too. Like they'll
Oh yeah,
kidnap like the old guy from the bookstore and things like
the
that. And
little
it's
girl I just now rescued.
yeah, which I wasn't really reading when she got kidnapped. And they even did the thing like if they're lost, it could be a reversal and all that. And I was just clicking through it, like, yeah, someone got kidnapped, whatever. And then I'm trying to like, get her social link all full and stuff. And there was like a whole week where I'm like, where the fuck is she? Like she's not popping up. And then I went to Tartarus. I was like, oh shit, there you are. You've been
It's
in the
funny that they get kidnapped because I maxed out both of their social links, and they're so far like two of my favorite ones that I've done. Um, I've I've I mean, we can go more in detail when I've done all of them. I've at least started most of them. I think I'm
Mhm.
still missing one or two social links.
Well, uh there's one that you don't get until January,
Oh, are you serious?
and that's Igus.
Of course it fucking is.
And
So
that's
these
the
have like you have to max out a stat to start theirs, and I haven't maxed out knowledge, so I haven't done what's her names.
knowledge is Mitsuru's, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I haven't started hers either.
Um,
Um,
I did start the other twos, but then it was like Aegis just needs to be more human. And so I was like, do I need to max out all of them to start hers, or
and that's the thing is like on your first playthrough, you can't get them all because in January you have to hang out with her as much as humanly possible, or you're
really?
not going to get her to 10.
Hmm.
Um, And even on your second playthrough, when you have like all your social stuff maxed out, Persona 3 is one of those games where you have like 4 days of error, like
Well,
3 or 4 days.
here's the thing. It's like I could have like just foregone certain things, like certain of those, because they have these not social link, but like just events between your party members, the other
Uh
people
huh.
in your party members, and you get stuff for doing that, and they're really cool story moments. Like the one guy who died, I did all of his, and then I just had one where I had to go clean out his room, and I saw the
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
like a really cool moment, and I got an in-game reward for it, which is like a new persona I can fuse. So it's like, man, I want to do those, and I'm glad they're there, but those take up day slots when
yeah,
I.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. And those are things too. So those are new to the remake, where they did
Yeah,
like
I figured.
it's their answer for not having social links for Shinji and Ken and
And it's a
Akihiko
kind
and
of a
stuff.
neat compromise because I do enjoy doing those. I really enjoyed the dog ones.
Yeah, me too. The Koromaru ones.
Mhm.
No, I like it because that was the problem with 3 I always had was like I beat the game and I was like, "Oh, that was fun and cool." They're kind of strangers still, you know? Like
Mhm.
everyone in my group is still kind of a stranger, but with this, it really feels like it's got that dorm vibe where you're reading
Yeah,
together or watching movies or cooking together and then you're doing all these other little things and it's just fleshing it out. So I really appreciate how they did that.
that does add
Um
a lot. I agree.
yeah. I wanted to mention too. So you're talking about like going to Tartarus multiple days and things like that. I think this is something that's like instilled in me from the older versions. In the old versions of the game, they had a tired system where when you were playing through, your party members would get tired, not
I vague,
from
I
lack of
vaguely
SD or
remember
anything.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but they'd be like, I'm tired, I'm going away. And then they would just leave your party. And then the next day, you couldn't go to Tartarus again because you'd be like, you're too tired to go.
Oh, yeah, that's not a thing at all in this game.
No, it's they took all that out, and that's why it's interesting because there's still moments in the game where like you're in class and it's like there's a lecture, but you feel sleepy. Do you want to sleep? And if
Mhm.
you sleep, you just get like some guts or something like that. But in
You
the
get the
original,
grade.
if you slept, it would change your status from like tired to good. Um, so
Oh,
you could
interesting.
like fall asleep in class to raise your status, but now
Mhm.
you just get a little stats boost for
I
it.
will
So
say I don't know if it's because there's only 3 stats you have to manage now, but I feel like maxing them out was a lot easier in this game than it was in the other games.
definitely, I don't know
Persona
about you,
4 and
but
Persona 5, I was stressing on my stats.
yeah, I just went to the cafe shop and worked there a ton.
Dude, I worked there a shit ton. Yeah.
I
Working
just
there at the arcade, those
mhm.
URLs, and yeah, when you hang out with the dorm members, it's kind of a 2 for 1. It's a 3
Yeah,
for 1 if you unlocked one of them as a social link
yeah,
because you get a stat, you get to increase their little story thing, and they'll get a new ability, and then if you're a social link, you'll get a little point for them.
no, definitely. It's good. It's one of those things where I needed to get more into it to see all the new stuff. Because at first I was like, "Is this just another Atlas cash grab?" Because they did the remake. It wasn't a remake; it was a remaster, but of the arena games that they released
Mhm.
for Switch and PlayStation 4 stuff, and those weren't great. I mean, they were fine, but they felt
Yeah.
really just half-assed put together. And I mean, this one just graphically alone looks a lot better.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
But
Yeah. First impressions are, and I haven't been it yet. Like you said, I'm still in October, but I'm really enjoying it. I'm really enjoying almost all of the social links. I know you said there was some that you could tell it's their first time. And that's kind of true, but for the most part, I'm still. There's always some social links in each of the Persona games where like, I don't really care about you.
it's like
And this is
the drama girl in 4 or the band girl in 4, where you're like,
the drama girl was so drama that I just couldn't take it seriously. Also the the moon girl in 4.
yeah, uh huh.
I can't remember her name, but the girl who was like the manager, I didn't care about her at all.
I Her name is
I
I. Yeah,
Yes, yes.
she
Whereas the
was.
manager in this game, I'm like the I'll say this about Persona 3. Track team, I love the track
I was
team.
gonna, okay. So this is very important, and this will
Okay.
lead to lots of judgment. Who's the best girl?
I really
Who you shipping? Who are you trying to enter that special relationship with in 3?
okay, okay, give me a second because certain feline decided to barge in.
He's
So here's the
really
thing.
good at
Here's
this.
the thing. It was a struggle in this game, Andrew.
If you say the
But
elementary school girl, I'm gonna have to block you.
the girl I chose for my playthrough was for once I went with the first girl, the healer girl.
Fuka?
No, not Fuka.
Oh, Yukari?
Yukari.
Oh, you went with Yukari. Okay, okay. She is the lover's arcana, so
Yeah, she was the lovers one. She did the thing where she's like with you in the hospital when you paint it out. She was where you
yeah,
woke your first persona. Like, you know what? I'll go Yukari. But I wanted
she's.
to do Fuka, and I really liked the strength girl. If it wasn't one of the party members, it might have been the strength girl.
I was gonna say Yuko is the only answer.
Yuko.
Who's the strength girl? She's the
Okay.
team
Okay.
manager.
Okay. It was honestly between those two. Like
Yeah,
that's what it got down to. But I was like,
Yuko.
she's my party member. I'll go ahead and do it.
Yuko has my heart and soul forever. She is.
Dude, I love her social link, and that's the thing. Was like the track team has all these cool moments. It's because not only is there two social links in that track team, but you get a whole summer thing involved in the
Mm-hmm.
track thing. You have a lot of like things that pop up here and there. You meet the other one, the rival or whatever through the
Yeah,
track.
yeah, yeah.
I
Mm-hmm.
don't know. I enjoy the track team more than any club in Persona 4. You know.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more because Persona 4 wasn't as fleshed out. It was more like,
But those one, it just felt like those were gateways to a social link. Whereas
uh
this one, I
huh.
feel like I'm actually part of a team. You know what I mean? Like I'm actually in a thing.
Yeah, definitely. It was a little disappointing because I think it was archery too, but in Persona 3 Portable, you had the option to choose track, archery, or swim club. Um,
Oh.
and them taking away those other options to only be track,
Uh huh.
I get it because there's so much tied around. Although I feel like you could easily just do some like costume swaps and things like that. Like it wouldn't be that hard. Just
Mm-hmm.
have everyone coincidentally be in swim club now instead of track. But there's a lot of dialogue. There's a lot of like even like the guy who's running and like his leg hurts and things
Yeah.
like that. Would that make sense for swimming? Maybe.
You could do it. Yeah.
You
I
could
like
do it
it'd
though.
be one of those things where like I guess I'll buy that.
Yeah, but I don't know. I was very disappointed that those are like some options because they added a lot in Persona 3 Portable that just aren't here. This really is a remake of Persona
3.
3.
And I knew that going into it, and that's why I'm like for the most part okay with it. And while I know you're upset that they're doing $35 for the answer, I'm kind of excited that they're at least coming out with that because that was the
Yeah.
main thing. It's like I really wanted to play that extra DLC or whatever that is. So
Yeah, and it's not that I'm necessarily upset. It's just one of those things of like,
it's how they're doing it. It's the pricing. I get it. I get it.
yeah, you're taking a game that's 20 years old
Mm-hmm.
and then you've remade it twice. You only remade the original version, but now you're selling the remake version, which you could have just remade to begin with, for over half the price of the game. It's
It's
like,
one of those things where if they remade all of it and charged like $70 for it, I don't think anybody would have been upset. You know what
no,
I mean?
absolutely not. And that's
And
why I'm like, it just because they came out with that whole, they had like a developer thing and stuff like that. And they're like, we've been working on this for 5 years. And they're like, we didn't do the female protagonist because we don't want to spend, 8 years working on this game and stuff like that. And it just seems like a bad management. Like you could
mhm.
have easily, if they're making, and I hate to keep comparing this, but I'm going to keep comparing it just because it's there. They're making Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in 3 years, but it took you 5 years to remake the original Persona 3. That's a management problem.
Yeah,
Like,
it's it's like very unpredictable whenever we'll get something from them because
yeah.
you just don't know.
And maybe it's their team size because Atlas has always been a smaller studio, and obviously, they have so much cash now
And I'm a
from.
fan now, and like I want to after this, I want to go and play the new Shin Megami Tensei 5
Mhm.
because I really wanted to play that game, but playing it on the Switch was a nightmare.
On the Switch. Yeah, I just got that for PS5, and I'm excited. Once I beat Reload, I'm going to take a break until for the new game plus, and I want to go to SMT5 because
I was thinking about doing the same thing.
I've
I
always
feel bad
dabbled in
because
them,
Jake
but
got me SMT5 as a gift, but I just can't play it on the Switch, dude. I don't know if you've ever played on the Switch. It runs bad. Like like that stuff doesn't usually bother me, and it bothers me
which
because
is
the glitch.
wild because It was exclusive for Switch.
I know.
So it's like, what are you doing?
Maybe my Switch is just extra bad because I noticed my Switch is starting to hit its little lifeline. Because I noticed on Fire Emblem Engage, if I would play it docked for over an hour or two, it would overheat and I'd have to
Oh,
put it.
really?
And
Dang.
it would be consistent, like over an hour, and I'm risking overheating while docked specifically.
Is yours a 2017 model?
Yeah, it's the launch.
Dang. Yeah. Well, that OLED, man, it's worth it just for the graphics alone.
Yeah. Sorry, my cat keeps opening my door, and I have to keep closing it.
No, it's
But
fine. It's kind of like one of those things where I kind of wish you didn't say anything about it, so the people watching would be like, "What is he doing? Why does he keep getting up?"
well, you can just like make me go violent. You can just bleep what I said. Sorry, and just bleep, and you're like, I can't put that on there.
Edit in something like, "What is he up to?" All right, I think we'll leave Persona 3 there, and we'll reconvene
Yeah. So
whenever
here's the
we
thing: is
beat
like
it.
I still haven't beaten it, right? So like I
Yeah.
still have yet to. So it's kind of just the first impressions. I do. I don't want to say whether I like it more than or less than any other. I can say certain things I like more or less, but overall, I don't want to make that statement quite yet. Um,
Yeah, I will say this, even with like Persona 3 alone with its different versions, but like as Persona as a whole, I even a couple days ago I went and played Persona 4 on the PS2, which I haven't really played a lot of just because I'm like I always have Golden. There's
mhm.
something about every version that I like.
Yeah.
Like it
Oh, I
doesn't
do want to ask you, what do you think of the voice acting in Reload? Because I know they changed them.
it took a while. It
Did it?
yeah. Whenever I started playing it, it took a while to get used to just because that original cast for Persona 3, they were there in 3, Fez, Portable, Q,
Oh, so
Arena
makes sense.
Ultimax, like, they were there the whole it was the same voice actors,
That
and
makes
then
sense.
they're finally changing and I like them. I still hear the original voice actors' voices sometimes, like, when I'm reading things, even though I really appreciate that it's all voice acted too.
Yeah,
Everything is voice acted.
it's really cool, actually.
Um, love that. I'm
I also
nervous.
really appreciate that.
I'm nervous about 4. I'm really
Oh,
nervous.
about what?
The inevitable whenever they remake 4, I'm
Uh,
really because that cast,
but a
they
lot of
had
those
some
voice actors are still in work for that voiced for. You know what I mean?
oh, no, absolutely. Like, infamously, they replaced Chie, but Erin Fitzgerald is a fantastic voice actress. Troy
She had to grow
Baker,
on me, but she eventually did.
um, yeah, you have, like, Troy in there, you have Yuri Lowenthal, like, there's just they got so many big voice actors before they were big.
Troy's the big one too. Like it
Yeah,
blows my mind he was in that.
and it's like, even I don't know, I feel like that voice acting cast more than Persona 3 is kind
Mhm.
of perfect, and they're probably gonna change them, so we'll see, but this does make me excited for a potential Persona 4 remake, which they're absolutely gonna do because Reload has sold quite well.
Well, and as somebody who didn't play, 3, I actually really like the voice acting. Junpei especially. That guy has having way too much fun with his role. Um,
His pseudo villain role.
yeah. So I can't tell you how many times I just listen to them and enjoy the voice acting.
No, it's really
I was
good.
curious though how you felt since you had the original, because I know that was kind of a point of contention for some people.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing bad, and I totally understand, like, again, the game's almost 20 years old, so it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, people have moved on, they're doing different things and more expensive, whatever. Um, but it was just something to get used to. I wasn't like, "How dare you change the voices? This is anarchy." I'm like,
Mhm.
I'll get used to it." Akihiko's is probably the one that's the biggest change. I don't know if you've heard his original voice actor, but
No.
if you do like a side by side, his he became a little more deeper, a little more gruffly.
Okay.
Um, again, not bad, but they definitely went with style, not try to sound like the original person.
I think that's probably the way to go.
I agree. Okay, we'll come back to this in a couple months whenever we be in it. Roger, as you know, we've been doing this list of top 100 games
Ah,
that's gonna
yes.
kill us, but we're committed now. Uh,
Oh,
so
real quick. Sorry. I mean, we can go ahead and do that. Do you know about the Shadow of Erdtree kind of controversy that's been going around?
no, but you know what? You've been playing Elden Ring, so we can. Why don't we talk a little bit about that?
Okay, give me just a second here. Cat,
For those who don't know, Shadow of Eldtree,
Ian, do you have something you wanna contribute? No, no. Okay, yeah. Now he leaves.
gets stage fright.
So yeah, I've been playing a lot of. So I did a whole new playthrough of Elden Ring to prepare for the DLC because my
Yeah, I was
main
gonna say
character is in like
this.
New Game Plus 5 or whatever,
Yeah.
and I learned my lesson back in the Dark Souls 3 days when I did the Reen City DLC on New Game Plus 4 and got my ass handed to me. So but the thing is, a lot of people didn't do that, and a lot of people win the DLC, New Game Plus 10, level 6 to 700, and in this DLC, your your leveling matters, but it's also different. It's also like you have to get these things called the Scourge Tree fragments,
Yeah.
and they are kind of your new leveling system. Because the way what leveling works in Souls games is it kind of drops off at a certain point where it becomes like diminishing returns.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of got their own pseudo leveling system in the DLC specifically. So when you first get there, it's not like being a level one character, but it's kind of like being a level one character where you got to collect these things to get stronger.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it just it wrecked a lot of people. And so the controversy right now is DLC is too hard.
Mm-hmm.
A lot
Yeah,
of people are complaining.
which is interesting because I think Dark Souls and Elden Ring to a
The
lesser
thing is, Elden
extent,
Ring's so
but
much bigger than any other FromSoft games. Like
yeah,
it brought in a lot of new people.
that's what I was gonna say is being observant of the franchise because I haven't really played them. I told you I think yesterday where I was like I've played all of them.
You've like skirted the edges.
Yeah, I've always tried them out and be like
There.
maybe this is the one. But playing through all of them, it was very evident to see, especially when it came to Dark Souls 3, that they got more accessible. Like Dark Souls
Oh yeah.
1 was hard. Demon Souls
I
was
honestly
hard.
felt like Dark Souls 3 is the best one to get into because it's
Yeah.
the most like easiest, not easiest Souls game, but like in terms of
Ex-
figuring out what to do, where to go, how
uh-huh.
to play it, it's the best one for that.
And I even would say it's the easiest. Like there are little things like when you swing your sword, it doesn't hit the wall. And as silly as that sounds, it makes the other games harder because you have to like spatial awareness and things like that. So it was like it was the biggest one. It was quote unquote easiest, even though it wasn't an easy game. It was still like the most accessible,
Yeah,
and
accessible to play with it.
it brought in a lot of people. And then you had games like Sekiro and Bloodborne and even Elden Ring to an extent where none of them were kind of as hard as the original Demon Souls or Dark Souls games. Like I felt like they kind of always had that line of you're able to do things and you're able to beat enemies. You're gonna struggle with the boss battles, but you could at least play a few hours where you're feeling pretty good about yourself. And
Yeah, the thing is like with those games, they're kind of like just old RPGs or JRPGs in general, where once you know the mechanics of the game, it becomes trivial. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah, yeah.
specifically Demon Souls and Dark Souls One, and that becomes less so as the series goes on.
Mm-hmm. And just my viewpoint, because I haven't played the DLC yet, because I'm only like 3 hours into Elden
So
Ring. So
I'm like I don't know. I'm like halfway through it. I think.
yeah,
It's really fun. There's a lot of bosses that are fast, and they can do like spam things and whatnot. But I don't know. That's Elden Ring at this point. The controversy is it's too hard. Every half the fan base is like, this is just from soft. Stop complaining. Grab the
yeah,
frag. Stop playing specific ways and just use summons or what the game gives available to you.
yeah.
Because summons is such a controversial line in the
It's so,
community of Elden Ring.
so silly.
And then the other half is like, oh no, I'm on New Game Plus. Part of it is I think that a lot of people making the first time mistake that we've all made is going into the DLC on New Game Plus whatever and just getting one shot by everything.
Uh huh.
Whereas people like me who've learned their lesson from other games, there's like no new character starting over.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think that's what it comes down to. It's like it's kind of bringing back the whole get good thing of like you're
And
trying to just
FromSoft's
play it.
DLC has always been tougher than the base game. That's always been a thing.
Yeah, which makes sense. Like
Mhm.
for their game specifically, it would be weird if it wasn't harder because that's kind of the whole shtick of the game is this is hard.
But yeah, for a while, like on Steam, it brought it down to mixed for the
Yeah,
reviews.
mixed
Like
reviews. which it's. I heard there are performance issues too with the PC port, so I kind
Yeah,
of get that, but also it's just people crying and complaining, which I understand. Like people show rage in a lot of different ways, and it's like you're stuck on the same boss for 5 hours and you keep dying. Yeah, you're gonna be pissed off and go back and I hate this game, negative review, and then a week later, either you change something or you finally figured it out or something. It's like okay, no,
there's
it's good
also
now.
I can't tell you how many times in these games where I would literally take a break for a few hours and come back and be at the first
Yeah,
or second try. Like you don't realize it in the moment. You don't think you're tilted. You are, and I can't tell you how many times. It's kind of sad, but how many times a break would literally just it would just make me a better player.
no, it's been interesting to see. It's been kind of funny to see too because whenever
However, to
sweaty
answer your
gamers get
question though, I've been loving the DLC
yeah,
like a lot. The
good.
bosses are cool. The music's insane. They said it's the size of like the first area of Elden Ring. That was a lie. Miyazaki lied to our fucking faces. That thing is fucking huge.
Yeah,
And it's got like 3 to 4 layers on top of it too. So the map's basically useless because like you look where you want to go, and that's not actually how you get there. You have to go under 2 levels, up 1 level. You actually got to go to the right for 10 miles, and then go through a cave to get to the area you want to get to.
sounds like I don't know. I want to play it and I want to get into it because not only because video games and I just like experiencing different things, but also because it's kind of the zeitgeist right now of like, oh, everyone's playing the Elden Ring DLC. It's like, oh, I want to play the Elden Ring DLC.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, that means I have to play Elden Ring. I'm not good at that game.
Yeah, and you can't even go in the DLC until you've like beaten 2 of the mid to late game bosses.
Yeah, yeah, like you had to get pretty far into the game. So
Mm.
I'm like, maybe one day, maybe I just need to find that drive and dedication and sit
That's
down
really
and be
what
like,
it is. The thing about those games is you do have to be in the mood for those games, and if you're not in the mood for those games, then you're just gonna have a bad time.
and unfortunately for me, I trend more towards JRPGs, which is nothing like Souls games at all. But that's
They
okay.
do have some the stat distribution is very old school. That's what I like about them.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's definitely those that DNA is inside there somewhere, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe one day. Probably. I haven't installed, so probably get around to it. All right. Um,
In 2012, you guys had a hell of a time picking games for that one.
we did. So to recap, I guess for 2012, we picked
Really, Cave
Journey.
Story you put on here?
Well, you some of these are from Jake.
I can
Uh,
tell which ones are from Jake.
for 2012, we put Journey, Persona 4 Golden, Fire Emblem Awakening, Max Payne 3, Borderlands 2, The Walking Dead, Cave Story, Counter Strike Go, and then Pokemon Black White 2. And again, this is just the we're gonna narrow this list down.
Yeah, this is the first draft.
Yeah. Because things like Max Payne 3, I can promise you, as good of a game as it is, not one
It,
of the 100 best games ever made.
yeah, I don't think so either.
Now 2011,
This is
if
gonna be
you
tough.
recall,
This is gonna be tough.
11, 11, 11.
Yep, that and it's got to go on there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, it has to.
What a iconic, for
It's
those that
still
don't
being
know,
released today. It has to.
that's when Skyrim, Elder Scrolls 5 came out. And what a iconic release date too, 11, 11, 11.
Yeah,
They're like,
yeah, they
they,
cooked with that one.
they knew what they were doing. They're like, listen, everyone's going to know our release date. And it was like, you're right, Todd. You're right. Um, Uncharted 3. You think it belongs on here?
No, I think Uncharted 2. If we're gonna do Uncharted, I think 2 is the big one.
I
Or
agree.
4.
Yeah. So my thought process is back in the day, it was always which is better, 2 or 3. And it was kind of like what you're talking about with Persona before. It was like, well, kind of depends on which one you played first.
Yeah,
Some people say 3 is a better game. Some people say 2 is a better game. But I think even with that, like, thought process, 2 is probably the better game then because it came out before 3. So 3 is just
yeah.
kind of
It
doing what
had
2
it
did.
had the jump. Yeah,
And even then, I think 4 is probably the best out of all of them.
yeah. I
So
think I think well, 4 is very representative of what current Naughty Dogs is too.
yeah. Uncharted 3
Portal
though
2. Portal
is
two's
a
got
great
to
game.
go.
Yeah, Portal 2.
You can make an argument whether the first or second one should go. I think it's the
It's
second
the
one.
second one. Absolutely, it's the second one.
It's not even close.
Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
No, it's Modern Warfare 1 or 2, and me personally, I would say 2.
I'd say 2 as well. I think 2's between that and Black Ops are two of the best Call of Duty games ever made.
Now, the Arkham games, do those
Mm.
deserve a spot on the top 100? And if they do, which I think they should, because they basically brought an entire combat style and revived an entire genre of video games, which in the
Yeah.
superhero genre. Are we doing Arkham City or Arkham Asylum? Did we do Arkham Knight? Did we have one of the Arkham games on here?
I don't think we put Arkham
I don't
Knight on
think we
there.
did. Yeah, I think it's got to be Arkham City, Arkham Asylum. And that's going to be another one where I personally think Arkham City is the better game and the bigger game and the better game. And the better game.
The better
But,
game and the bigger game and the better game and the
but Asylum started it all, you know?
That's true, but we're looking at the best game. So I'm going to put City.
Okay.
And I'm going to take your word because I don't have enough experience with these games.
Okay. City just took everything Asylum did and just did it better and more.
Then there you go.
And there's the thing what I like about City is it didn't take away, like, you know how you would go through Asylum and you'd find upgrades and like stuff like that. City didn't take away those upgrades. It just gave you more.
Oh, nice.
More
I always
for your tool belt.
That's always the funniest thing whenever you like have a game where you're like Final Fantasy 7 where you level everything up, you get all this stuff, and then the next game starts and you're back to nothing. And you're like, did I just lose it? Drop it? What happened?
It's really funny when it's like RPGs too, you know, when you're going from like one RPG, you're the same character and you're level 100 characters back to level 1.
It's like, that's great. What they usually do is like they'll put them at level 10 or 15. Like, oh, look, you have a little experience. 2011 is kind of a weak year, honestly. I'm looking at a lot of, I mean, LA Noire is okay, and Dead Space 2 is good, but Dead Space 1 is better.
Oh, and Dead Space 2, I mean, you can make an argument, and I wouldn't disagree with you, but I don't know if I want to like jump the gun. Like Elder Scrolls Portal and Batman, I'm like, yeah, no, those probably go on there. Outside of that,
I'm gonna throw you a curveball though. Sure. Possibly the number one on our whole list.
Sure.
Ocarina of Time 3D. Hear me out.
I think we should do the original Ocarina of Time.
I hear you. Ocarina of Time on 3DS is the better game.
But with that game specifically, everybody loves that game. It's not like everybody loves that game because it is Ocarina of Time. Like it is Ocarina of Time that makes everybody like that game.
Yes.
It's not like some of these other games where like it's enjoyable because they fix some of the stuff.
True.
We put Dark Souls 3 on here.
You're making some good points. Fine, we'll leave it off. 2011, weak year. Which makes sense because most
dude, the original Dark Souls.
Do you think that belongs on here?
2011.
Yeah.
We have Dark Souls 3 on here. So that and Sekiro. So that's the thing.
Yeah. We're already kind of getting full on the whole and Elden Ring.
Wow. Honestly, if we have Elden Ring on here, I would say we need to take Dark Souls 3 off. Okay, again, this is the same argument. Dark Souls, even though Dark Souls wasn't the first Demon Souls was, Dark Souls is the reason Souls games exist. But I think they've really perfected that style of gameplay down the line.
Yeah, I agree.
But it feels weird not putting it on here.
I don't think it goes on here.
Okay, all right. We have Elden Ring, we have Dark Souls 3, which I think some people I think that there's an argument between which one's better, 3 or the original.
Yeah.
The original has the thing people forget about the original is the first half of that game is really cool. The second half of that game isn't. There's a lot of gimmick boss fights that are really annoying.
Yeah. Well, no one made it to the second half because it was too hard to get to the first half. So, yeah, I'm looking at 2011.
Of a game.
2011's a weak year, dude.
Hold on, I remember a shit ton of stuff coming out in 2011. Maybe that.
I mean, like Bulletstorm, Duke Nukem Forever,
the Crisis games. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just the Mortal Kombat remake or reboot, whatever you want to call it. That came out.
I saw that, and I thought about it.
It's still not. You can tell this was the end of a generation. This was like the last year for the Wii. This was like 14 months away from
What would you say is the
PS4.
best? I guess when it comes to Battlefield, we got to put Bad Company too.
Yeah, I think so. It's the best Battlefield. Battlefield 3 is good, but this, I
Like,
mean, the campaign is too. They just stole from Black Ops.
yeah. Deus Ex: Human Revelation. That is a really good game. It's not as popular as any of these other ones, but
Yeah, still want to put it top 100 best game. Yeah,
it's a really good game.
that's good. I mean, we could throw it on there. Why not?
No, 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 no. I'm just trying to like make
Eh,
some arguments here.
No, I think that's it. I think just Skyrim, Portal 2, and Arkham City for 2011, which I think
That's
that's
fair.
fine. There's weaker years.
That was the phone.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I would have thought there'd been so much more personally. Man,
People
poor
said,
Skyward Sword. I love Legend of Zelda, but no, there's no arguments for Skyward Sword.
God bless. I mean, Skyward Sword did a few cool things. I like how they characterized Zelda and Link, and like it felt more
Oh
of
yeah,
a
dude. So 2010, we got Black Ops, we got Bioshock, Red Dead, Super Mario Galaxy, Mass Effect, New Vegas.
yeah,
We got our work
20,
cut out for 2000.
2010. That was a good year. That was a good year.
God, Dante's Inferno. Do you remember that?
Oh, I remember it.
Dragon Age
Absolutely.
Origins.
All right, Roger. I told you at the beginning of the show before we started recording that I wasn't going to do a script. Now, I know it's dead, but I'm an old person, so I'm going to call this E3 for the next 20 years. E3 happened. Um, just anything that piqued your interest, anything that you might have caught or saw. Honestly, I watched the state of play. I watched half the Xbox show, but there's a rage that builds in me when I watch these Xbox showcases because and I understand it's all advertising.
For me, I have a hard time remembering what they announced and stuff.
Yeah, I stopped watching the Xbox showcase because it's just such an advertising for Game Pass. That's all they
Mhm.
care about is Game Pass. Every single game that pops up, Game Pass, and it infuriates me so much that that's all they care about that I stopped watching halfway through.
I will
But
say
they had a good showcase. So
what
Xbox, they had a good showcase. Like everyone
they
said, like
did.
it's the best Xbox
I
show
kind of
in
feel
a
bad because
decade.
everybody I know was like, "Oh, a Gears of War game. Yeah, I remember those games. I always wanted to play them. Like nobody's ever really gone through them. Nobody like dislikes them, but nobody's really gone through it. Like nobody's a huge fan. People that are
No, no.
fans are people like my dad that just like playing the horde mode.
Uh huh. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, from everything I saw, and again, I didn't watch a ton of it. Like I didn't watch the actual showcase. The was Summer Games Fest with Jeff Keighley.
No,
After
I watched a lot of the other stuff.
the Game Awards, I was like, I can't do this again. At least not right, not this close. I need a break from you. But I watched the state of play. Astrobot looks amazing.
Yeah, that looks kind of neat.
Um, it looks like the first game, and I say this after playing like the built-in packing game and all that stuff. It looks like the first game that I look at it, I'm like, this is an actual Mario rival.
Hmm.
Like this looks like it has the quality, the music, the
Dude,
graphics, the charm.
I want there to be a Mario rival, but I'm skeptical about it.
Yeah. You played the demo though, right? Or the packing game
A
or
little bit,
playroom?
yeah.
It was really good. And this just looks like they're taking that and cranking it up to 100.
Hmm.
Um Nintendo new Zelda game that I saw, which I'm really
Yeah,
excited
the
for.
wand of something.
Echoes of Wand
Echoes of
of,
the, yeah, that's what it was.
yeah.
Echoes.
You finally get to play as Zelda, and of course, Nintendo being Nintendo, she can't have a sword.
No, he gets a wand.
Yeah, her gimmick is which at first I was like, okay, but then it makes sense because they even said in the trailer like she's the Triforce of Wisdom, so you got to use wisdom, and her whole thing is
I
that you
don't
can
mind them giving them separate powers and abilities and stuff.
no, um, but it seems a lot more puzzle based, which I like because I feel like that's something that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom kind of lack a lot in are the puzzles.
Hmm.
So it's kind of going back to that classic Zelda figure it out. It's got a lot of Link Between Worlds vibes. I mean,
Yeah, very much
obviously,
so.
Link's Awakening too, because same art style and stuff like that. But I
That
got
art
a
style has really grown on me. I did not like it when I first saw it. It's
yeah.
really grown on me.
No, I like it as this is the new de facto 2D Zelda
Mhm.
style. Um, I think it's good. We didn't get Twilight Princess or Wind
I
Waker.
know, dude. Don't remind me. It's all I want.
I don't.
I'm
I don't.
excited for the new Zelda game though. That looks I'll get it probably. It looks neat.
Yeah. I think I just remember a lot of this stuff because it was Nintendo. But new Mario Party, which I'm excited for.
Hmm.
There's like 6 boards this time, which I don't understand why they're always so. Just put like 10 in there. Like why are we doing like 4 or 5 or something like that? But um, bringing back some classic boards from like 2 and 3 and things like that. I like Mario Party, so that's cool.
Mario Party's just a. I'm kind of like whatever on that game. That's just a neat, fun game to play with friends.
Yeah, it's a social game. I'm
Hmm.
not gonna be one of those people that I think Jake like played a lot by himself and like unlocked other things stuff. I'm like, I don't think I could ever play Mario Party by myself.
I did a little bit back in the GameCube days because all I had was free time. So
Yeah. What else are you gonna do?
yeah,
Um, what else was? I feel like I mean, there was a lot that was announced, but
I mean, there's a lot in the Xbox showcase and the state of play.
yeah.
Path of
Di-
Exile 2 coming to console is kind of huge. I really hope that's a Diablo killer.
yeah, that game looks awesome.
Yeah.
It's
And
got
with how
local.
Diablo 4 turned out, I'm like, thank God they're bringing that to console.
Are you saying that because Diablo 4 did so well in console, or well,
I'm
Diablo
saying
4 had
that
that controversy, didn't it? Where it was like it was good and then it wasn't good, or
I didn't care for Diablo 4, and I've been getting frustrated with Diablo for a while now. So this is like actual competition that I'm really, because it did do well. You're right, it
hmm
did well because they put it on console. That's why I'm glad they're putting Path of X, because Path of Exile is kind of the main like competition.
competitor. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. I actually been playing. I played a little of Diablo 2 on my PlayStation uh, pretty recently, and I just there's something about that classic Blizzard music.
Mm-hmm.
Like StarCraft and
Mm-hmm.
Warcraft and even Diablo 2. It's just like it's just that era, but it's so good
I
because it's
agree.
so weird. um, but yeah, I'm always looking for because I still haven't played Diablo 4, but I just heard such a mixed bag. There's some people that absolutely love it. There's a lot of people who are like, I did like it, and then he fucked it up.
Well, and season one dropped and they nerfed all the builds, and people were pretty upset about that.
Yeah, and
Um,
then it's also Blizzard, which they suck.
when it's over.
New Doom game.
Yeah, that
Doom
looks cool.
going back to medieval knights type of era for Doom, which is cool. I feel like this is now the point, and I don't want to like be like it sucks because it doesn't. Doom Eternal was fucking fantastic,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like by the third game, a lot of the charm and appeal of it, because when Doom 20, what was it, 2014, 2016,
Uh,
whenever the
it was around there.
whenever the reboot happened, it was so good because it was such a reimagining and revitalization of Doom. But now we're on the third game of that same type of
I
style.
think that's why it's smart for them to do like the medieval thing to kind of give it a
hmm
kind of a, I don't know, fresh coat of paint is the right phrase, but
Yeah,
try and switch it up a little bit.
no, definitely. And I'm wondering how
You go the
far they
Army of
could take
Darkness route.
this. Yeah, which that's exactly what it is, and it's like I think that works perfectly. But then, do they even have plans for not to, put the cart before the horse? But like, what are you gonna do for the next one? Are you gonna stick with the gimmicks? You gonna go back do something completely new? I feel like the franchise life is kind of like it was like with Wolfenstein, where they did the
Mhm.
remake, and then like you can only do so much before it gets
Well, that's the weird
derivative.
thing about Wolfenstein is everybody really liked the first two games, and then it just kind of stopped.
hmm
I know they had that spin-off that people didn't really care for, but it wasn't like so bad that it should have killed the franchise.
Yeah, no, I don't know. It was interesting, but yeah, they showed Fable. Fable looks cool.
Fable looks neat. I would still like some more gameplay, but
hmm
yeah. And then also I can't remember if this was at Xbox or what this was at. the new Dragon Age game.
That was at Xbox. I missed that one actually. I tuned in like right after they had shown it, and I still haven't seen the trailer, but I heard people going, that was the reaction. Because
Yeah,
did you see the trailer?
yeah. The
What,
Veil Guard. That's what it was.
yeah,
It was still pretty cinematic, so I still feel like I don't have a whole lot to go off of. Originally, it was supposed to be Dreadwolf, and I guess they
yeah.
changed it.
Well, and it makes sense. This game's been in development for almost a decade now. Like they something happened and they restarted development, changed everything.
Yeah. So
Um,
I don't know. I don't really have any like. I'm just kind of like okay. I'm just kind of like okay. Like I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
have.
yeah.
It was pretty much a cinematic trailer. I still don't have much gameplay to go off. So
I think I think that's my problem with Xbox too, where people are so quick to forget the past because they want to be hyped.
hmm
Most of the things they had a 2 hour showcase, and granted, you had Bethesda in there, you had Activision in there, you had Blizzard in there, all these companies that they bought. So like their showcase is huge now, and that's cool. But then like when they're showing their games, and they showed everything, they showed Perfect Dark for the first time, which I
and that
thought,
was like kind of neat actually. I like
yeah,
that
I
it
thought
was different from the original.
I was like, this looks interesting, but I've just been burned so many times by Xbox. And most of these trailers were cinematic trailers, like you're saying. And I'm like,
Yeah,
how
and
could anyone
it just only
who's,
shows you so much.
yeah, how could anyone who's played on Xbox the last decade look at any of these trailers and go, that's a home run, that's a hit? They've proven nothing aside from Forza that their
I don't
games.
know. I'm excited for State of Decay 3.
But wasn't even State of Decay 2 like a fucking mess?
I think at launch it was, yeah.
Yeah, like it was broken or something at launch, and
I just like it as a fun co-op zombie kill show
yeah,
experience. Man.
and I think at the end of the day, most of these games will be good, but I just have a really hard time watching them and being like, "Oh, I want to be excited for Fable, but this is Xbox." So I'm like,
For me, it's just like I still haven't seen enough, you know.
exactly. Like you're not showing me enough of any most of the games, they didn't really show anything at all, and I'm like, I'm going to need gameplay,
And
not
I've
just
kind of gotten to the point where I just don't like to watch trailers as much anymore, anyways.
yeah.
I've heard Silent Hills 2 has gotten a lot of controversy.
Oh my gosh. That it's a PlayStation exclusive, I
Yeah,
think,
that.
so it must have
Sorry, I
been
jumped to
there.
PlayStation.
No, it's fine. I mean, that's what we're doing is just bouncing around. But I actually recently picked up Silent Hill 2 for the PS2 because there's no way that you can play that game digitally. It's
Mm,
only available on the disc. And the reason I did that was because this is purely from optics. But first off, Bloober Team, I hate them. I don't think they're a good studio. I think they've only made bad games. Layers of Fear 2. Um, they were the ones that did that launch Xbox game that was fucking terrible as well. Uh,
which which
what
one?
what was that one called? Let me see. I will let you know in approximately 3 seconds. Three, two, the medium.
Oh, I forgot about that game.
Everyone did because it wasn't that good.
hmm
And they did the Blair Witch game, which was fine, but it
Yeah,
wasn't that good.
I heard it was okay.
That's all they've ever done are okay games. And for some reason, people think Silent Hill 2 is going to be good, even though everything I've seen from it, it just looks off. It
There's been
looks
a lot of
weird.
warning signs with it. Yeah, where off is a good word. Where it's just like, I don't know.
Tons of red flags. And I feel like people are just like, I don't know if it's denial. I don't know if it's they just want it to be good. It's some people genuinely like Bloober Team, which I think is fucking insane. But
I've heard Layers of Fear has their fan base.
yeah, it has
I've
their
never
fan
played
base.
one, so
But everything I've seen from Silent Hill 2 is like this does not look great. um, but we'll see. Maybe it's going to be really good. I don't think it will be, but maybe.
I'm kind of with you, honestly. There's a lot of just red flags that's been popping up, where it's just like, I don't know. I don't know if we should get that excited for it.
Yeah.
I was excited when
Um.
it was announced, but ever since then,
Well, that's because it's Silent Hill 2, and you're like, oh,
yeah, right.
it's an amazing game. But then the more you dig into it, the more you see, you're like, oh, maybe.
It's like nothing like hardcore, like oh no, but everything is like okay, that's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But you never
that's
know.
a little
Maybe they're just
weird.
bad at advertising, but I'm sure they're not. Saw some Metal Gear Solid 3 gameplay.
Yeah,
The more I see about that game looks fucking awesome.
yeah, exact
They
opposite. It looks pretty neat.
they
Like,
released something recently where they said like they're bringing like there's like classic filter mode so the game looks like it did back on the PS2 and the
nice.
GameCube or whatever. I don't know what the platforms came out on. And then they have like modern mode and stuff like that. They have classic controls or modern controls. They have classic camera and modern camera. So it's like they're really giving you those options to be like if you want to play this like the original, you can do that. Or if you want it modernized, which I think if I don't know the last time you played those Metal Gear games, they need modernized.
I haven't played them. They're another series I need to go through.
Dude, try playing MGS 2 or 3 today. You can tell it was that there's that era and it was the Xbox, GameCube, PS2 era where
Hmm.
they were trying to figure out controls.
That's not true. I did play the demo of the first one on this little PlayStation disc I had of like 10 different demos for a bunch of games.
Yeah. It's
That's
it's
my only
interesting.
It's my experience. I want to. Jake let me borrow them for a while, and I just never got around to playing them because I'm a
Yeah.
bad friend. So
I mean they have the HD collection now that just came out for modern platforms and
yeah, and that's probably what I'll get.
yeah, I mean
It's
they've
just,
released a lot of different collections
here's the
actually.
problem, dude. It's just not enough time in the day. You know,
No, I get it. I really
with
do.
both games, I want to. I still haven't finished the Devil May Cry games like I was talking about. We were just talking about Persona going through.
Yeah.
Like just Persona and Elden Ring's taken me.
I was about to say, if you're a JRPG fan, just forget it. It's like,
Not to mention they just added Octopath Traveler 2 on Game Pass.
mm, so good. Only a few hours into that game, it's so good, so good. Assassin's Creed looks good.
Yeah, I've been
I mean,
soaking on Assassin's Creed. It looks neat.
they're finally doing Japan. They're finally doing ninjas and stuff, and I'm like, this is what I've wanted for over a decade, and I haven't. I've got. I own every Assassin's Creed game. I haven't beaten one since 3,
Nice.
and
Actually, I think same. I
and
think
I
I
tried playing Origins recently, and I really hated it. Like, really hated it.
Yeah,
I
you're
was like,
probably not gonna like the Valhalla or
well,
Odyssey then.
I've played Odyssey and Valhalla, and I actually like those games. There's some about Origins though, where I was like, this is not clicking. But I feel like those games have gotten better in design and combat and things as they've gone on. So I have a lot of high hopes, and everything I've seen from this new one, I don't know what it's called, but I'm cautiously optimistic about it. It looks good. The new Star Wars game too, Outlaws, looks pretty sick.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm hoping that it'll be more quality and less Ubisoft, but it is made by Ubisoft.
I don't know. I feel like they've been making an effort lately.
They have, and it's also made by the people that did the Division and the Division Two, and I really like
Mhm.
those games. I think those are
Oh, did you ever
solid
play
games.
that Ubisoft Call of Duty free to play game that came out? I can't
Mm,
remember what it was called. I think it was called X Defiant. That was the name of it.
no, but I heard about it.
So it was kind of a neat game where it's literally just Call of Duty, but it's also a kind of a hero shooter. So you play
Yeah,
as operatives from Ubisoft's different games.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember
The
seeing
maps
this.
are from their different games too. So when you said Division, that just reminded me of it because they have operators and maps from the Division. Um, it was a neat. It's a neat game. I actually kind of liked it. It's free to play, so this makes sense. Super grindy, dude.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
extremely, and the time to kill is really long. Like you thought Call of Duty Black Ops was bad. No, no, dude.
That just reminds me of that one donkey video where he's playing Black Ops 3, I think, and
I think it's four actually with
or
the assault
4.
rifle, and it just like he's testing the headshots on the guy, and he
He's
wouldn't
like
kill him.
1, 2, 3, 4, and like 5 shots in the head, and then he dies. It's like, what?
Yeah,
Um, yeah. So I don't think. I mean, those were just the big standout. Obviously, there were dozens of games announced, but those were kind of just the bigger standouts for me that happened.
same.
Uh, there's so now
I
kind
feel
of
bad because yeah, nobody cares about the Gears of War stuff.
it has its fans, but
Age of Mythology looks cool.
yeah, I've always liked those games.
Same.
Excited to see that. I will say this after that showcase. I'm like, oh, maybe my Xbox does have value because we're into year 4 now, and I think I've played the Xbox a collective like 20 hours, and that's not exaggerating. Like it has been a dust collector.
We just need to find some games to play on Xbox. Just get Elden Ring on Xbox, and we'll
That's
play
true.
through it together.
I mean, that's what it really was an investment of like I knew there's going to be tons of games on there. And I know
Mm.
there's going to be things like that too. And yeah, you guys have Xboxes, so we'll find something. But Sea of Thieves, please Sea of Thieves.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves. Dude, that I swear to God, half my friends that killed Helldivers. They stopped playing Helldivers because they really Sea of Thieves on
On
PlayStation.
PlayStation, yeah.
So
No, I got
that
it on
was
PlayStation. Like I low key kind of like Sea of Thieves, but okay. So I want to try something a little different. Instead of going through a whole list of all these games that we'll never hear of or play of again for the new release, I want to try something else. I want to know, do you have an anticipated game for the month of July? Like, what's your most anticipated game that's coming out?
oh, that's coming out.
Yeah. And if we need to, we can look up like July 2024
That's exactly what I'm gonna do.
video game releases. Um, So like a big one for me is Dawn Trail, which is actually already out because I got the early access because I pre-ordered it. Um, that's the expansion for Final Fantasy 14. Very excited to play that.
See, I need to get into that game. I I started. I've kind of taken a bit of a break from ESO.
Yeah, after your hundreds of hours. Other big releases: Nintendo World Championship is coming out for Switch, the NES edition. That game looks cool. Um, there's one game that I am the inner man in me is just disgustingly excited for, and it is
College
definitely
football.
my yeah, the new NCAA. This is a game because I've always I can't resist. I play the new Madden every year eventually, and every year it sucks.
Yeah, I know it's bad. The college
I've
football has been a big deal for a while now.
but the NCAA games, even back in 2011, 12, 13, I think NCAA 13 or 14 was the last release. So it's been about a decade.
Hmm.
But those were always so good. And I think it does have to do with it's just the college vibes. And, you have all the pomp and circumstance of things like that. And it's just so deeper too, because there's so much more about it. But everything I've seen about this college football game, aside from they took out mascot mode, so you can't do the mascot be mascot, at least not yet. Maybe they'll update it and stuff. But it looks so good as long as it's not broken.
And this is where I'll probably say college football too, just because like all these other games I'm kind of whatever on, but I know people that are gonna play that, and I'm very curious. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, are you
Ooh,
you
Darkest Dungeon 2 comes out on PlayStation 5.
that's a big one.
I really want to play Darkest Dungeon 2.
Mm. You dabble in sports, right? Like
Yeah,
you're
dabble. Yeah.
yeah, you're a little dabbler. Um yeah. I mean, who knows? It looks good. There's some interesting things I'm looking at this list, like Ace Combat 7 for Switch,
If
One
it's
Piece.
definitely they can begin their redemption arc with this one.
Absolutely. This is going to be EA's are you for real or are you not for real? It's your
Uh,
first game in 10 years. Is it going to be a broken piece of shit? Hopefully not. But we'll see.
Hopefully not.
I will say they've been showing off a little bit of the new Madden. NCAA looks leagues better.
It always has.
Leagues better than
It
Madden.
always has.
Um, but yeah, I'm excited, especially because KU's football team is like it was like pretty good last year. So
Yeah.
if you look at the top ranks for NCAA, they're in the top 25. I'm like, hell yeah. They're not
So
like bottom tier.
they're releasing Resident Evil 7 on iOS. Is that the whole game?
Yeah, we won't get too deep into this, but they've actually so some companies have been doing full game releases on iOS. I can't remember, but there are like three or four of them. Resident Evil 7 being one of those.
Uh-huh.
And after like, I don't know, 6 months, a year, something like that, they said out of all those games, they've sold a total of 3,000 copies. So it's a thing that they're trying to do, but it's not working.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the biggest problem with that doing the stuff like that is the battery. I just don't play games on my phone because it's just gonna kill my battery. I need
Hmm.
my phone for other stuff throughout the day.
It's also like whoever whoever's interested enough to play a game like Resident Evil 7, they have a console.
Yeah.
There's no one who's like, "Oh, I want to play Resident Evil 7, but I don't own a video game console or computer." It's like, "Yeah, you do. You
Unless
absolutely do."
it's like unless you're like trapped on a 10-hour flight or something. Like I just can't imagine why. You know?
No, there's no. It's silly. It's this bigger thing. Xbox recently announced that like Game Pass is coming to the Fire Stick or Amazon Fire or something like that. And
Yeah.
it's like they're pushing for this streaming, and I think it's all gonna blow back in their face because Sony did this exact same shit a decade ago. Remember when PlayStation Now was on everything?
Yep.
It's on everything. And I understand, internet's better, technology's better, there's more streaming things. It doesn't matter. That wasn't
Mhm.
the problem. The problem was no one gives a fucking shit. No one cares.
People don't like to stream games. You know, like
No.
it's not really.
Even like someone like me who bought a Stadia and was like, yeah, I want to do the streaming stuff. If I have the option to play it downloaded, I'm gonna play it downloaded.
Same.
So, well, Roger, I think that's all she wrote for this one.
I agree.
Any other questions, comments?
No, I mean, I'm just kind of in the middle of stuff right now, and we can have
No?
a full discussion once I've fully beaten. Well, I mean both what I'm playing, but specifically Persona 3.
Definitely, yeah.
I've
And
already beaten
hopefully
it.
I'm probably gonna beat it within the next week.
I'm hoping to.
Um, yeah, and we can reconvene and maybe we can get some of those other kids on here. But well, thank you so much for joining me in the morning. I feel tired. I think it's because it's the end of the show, and usually it's like 11 o'clock at night. It's only noon, but I kind of want to go to sleep. So maybe I'll
Yeah,
take a nap. You know,
yeah.
nice nap
Today's the
sounds
day to
good.
do it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in and watching and or listening. If you'd like to support the show, patreon.com/slightlyemp over there. Subscribe, like, all that stuff. Check out our other shows. And by that, I mean our other episodes. And we'll see you in the next show. Goodbye now.
Bye.